Chris Rock, we got a problem. We got to sit down. We got to talk about your ass because you done messed up. We know the audio is all going back to 2011, but let's keep it real. It resurfaced this, and your people should not have never allowed that video to resurface. Now, I've been a fan of yours going back to the days of SNL when I was a little girl, and I used to stay up late at night and sneak and turn to Channel 4 and watch you crack your jokes on Weekend Update when you used to do the militant character Nat X. Even though now I'm an adult, I understand that was wrong for them to do a parody of that. But at the time, I was 7 years old. I didn't know any better, and I didn't live with my mother. I lived with my grandmother, by the way. And I just thought you was funny, especially in the movie "I'ma Get You, Sucker." I just thought that you was just like a raw comedian, and you were like the best thing coming since Eddie Murphy. And a lot of my friends hate you. They don't think that you're funny because you insult black people. But I have always given you the benefit of the doubt. I've always given you the benefit of the doubt, Chris Rock. But now, I think that time has come to finally admit that, my friends, y'all was right. He don't really like us as people. He got some self-hate issues with himself, which is why he calls us niggas, which is why he downplays black women in their jokes, which is why he's not that critical amongst white people. And that's why I, Miss Analytical, will be speaking about this topic. Let's go. Shall we? Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your girl, Miss Analytical, and I'm back. I took a couple of days off because I'm not gonna lie, I was tired as hell. I was really tired, working back to back for 6 days. I was stressed out. But after a day off of just resting myself, I decided, let me just, make a couple of videos today and tomorrow because I'm off for the next 2 days. So this first video I want to talk about is about Chris Rock. Now, when this story hit, I was at work. I was on my lunch break when I saw all of it on my timeline, so I couldn't talk about it. I got home, I was sleepy. I knew I would have spoke about it yesterday, but like I said earlier, I was tired and I was really exhausted. The truth about it, I was exhausted. So I'm gonna hit you with this one. So I did my research about it. I listened to a lot of people's audios, and a lot of people came up with the same conclusion that this shit was foul. But I'm going to read to you the article from USA Today. I really like USA Today because they're mostly neutral when they write their articles. So it says, Chris Rock, Louis C.K. sparked outrage for using the N-word in cringeworthy HBO video. And this was written by Cindy Henderson on December 23rd on Sunday. And this article hit 2:07 p.m. It says, an unearthed clip of Chris Rock, Louis C.K., and Ricky Gervais using racial slurs during a cringeworthy conversation is sparking outrage across social media while drawing praise for Jerry Seinfeld. And I'm going to get back to that later. In the footage, which originally aired during the 2011 HBO special, Talking Funny, Rock tells CK he is the blackest white guy I know. CK responds, "You say I'm a nigga?" And Rock replied, "Yes, you are the niggerest white man." Rock, CK, and fellow comedian Gervais burst out laughing while a clearly uncomfortable Seinfeld interjects. "I don't think he can do that," Seinfeld says, shaking his head. "I don't think he has those qualities." This year's highest paid comedian adds, "I wouldn't use it anywhere." CK notes that he and Rock both use the word on stage. Gervais points out that he doesn't use the derogatory term during comedy shows, but he does say the word during the conversation seen in the clip. CK boasts that he and Gervais use the word in their personal life, and both laugh. "You found the humor of it," Seinfeld tells CK. "I haven't found it, nor do I seek it." The clip resurfaced on Twitter over the weekend and quickly went viral. It was instantly met with criticism as many social media users slammed Rock for allowing CK and Gervais to use the racial slur. Activist DeRay, the Twitter activist that's part of Black Lives Matter, I just had to say that. He asked, what was Chris Rock thinking? You know how many other ways Louis C.K. could have gotten his point across without saying the N-word? Abe Foreman tweeted, I also blame Chris Rock for not checking him. How many people watching probably thought to themselves, I can say this around my black friends now. Celebrities also praised Seinfeld for refusing to use the word while calling out others for it. Director Ava DuVernay called the clip disappointing, adding that she found herself wanting to give props to Jerry Seinfeld. Musician Wale called Seinfeld a real one and a legend. It said something the only person who was uncomfortable was Seinfeld. Former ESPN personality and journalist Jemele Hill tweeted. Hill also pointed out that Rock shouldn't be the only comedian to face backlash. In another tweet, I ain't gonna read that because I can't stand that bitch. So I'll just say this. The backlash comes the same month that comedian Kevin Hart stepped down as the Oscar host, following a crisis stemming from his refusal to apologize for previous homophobic comments and tweets. None of the comedians involved have responded to the backlash yet, but it's unclear whether they will face repercussions. USA Today reached out to representatives for Rock, CK, and Gervais for comments. A rep for Seinfeld declined to add to the comedian's previous remarks. The clip is the latest blow to CK's career after he admitted to sexually harassing several women in November 2017. Okay, so you got it. Now I'm going to say this. I don't like the hypocrisy about what the media is doing. You know how Chris Rock feels about the N-word. He passionately talks about it. He's been doing this going back to at least publicly, back to 1996, 97 in the comedy special on HBO, Bigger and Blacker. Now I'm going to tell you some things about Chris Rock before I get to my criticism about all these people, including Jerry Seinfeld. Chris Rock doesn't come out of the urban comedy circuit. And a lot of people are going to be like, Miss L. Local, what do you mean? What I mean is this. You have two different types of comedy circuits. You have the comedy circuit for the mainstream comics, mainly the white people. They come from the different comedy improv repertory companies. Some of them come from being writers behind the scenes. Some of them come from comedy clubs that are owned by the dominant society, i.e. white people. Then you have comedians that come from the urban circuit, mainly the black comedians that went through the ranks of BET's Comic View. That's your Ricky Smileys. That's your Earthquakes. That's your Moniques, your Samores, your Adele Gibbons. Okay, Adele Gibbons. Then you have the people that came from the whole Def Comedy Jam. Those are your Bernie Macs. Okay? Those are your Cedric Entertainers, your DL Hoogies. Those are your Chris Tuckers. You understand? They came from Def Comedy Jam. And Adele came from Def Comedy Jam, I want to say. She came from Def Comedy Jam because that's when I first saw her. Your Cheryl Underwoods. They came from Def Comedy Jam. Now you also have the Latinos. They came from their own circuit. But the reason why you don't have a lot of Latino comedians ever blowing up, because a lot of them, I'm going to say this, they don't really own comedy clubs. I've done my research. They're really not big in comedy. They're really mostly big in music. They're big with the music. They got a lock on the music, but they don't really own comedy clubs. So when you find like the Latinos make it big in comedy, they have to go through the dominant society. But a lot of our urban comics, they don't really go through the dominant society. Yes, we all know to get on TV, yes, they do that. But to own those clubs, a lot of black people own those clubs. A lot of them tour. Now, a lot of them don't make it big, But a lot of them are millionaires for the simple fact that they just do a lot of tours. And touring can make you a lot of money. Now, with that being said, Chris Rock did not make it through the urban comedy circuit. He made it through the help of a man, two people. One of them was Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy, believe it or not, put him on. Okay? But the person that made him who he is Lorne Michaels from SNL. And how Chris Rock made it big was because Lorne Michaels had fired a lot of the players from SNL back in 1990, the spring of 1990, because I remember the story. And what happened, the reason why he did it was simply because they aged out. And they wanted to take the show in a new direction and sort of bring it back to how it was 15 years prior when the show first premiered. And he said, I have people on the show who are great with sketches. They can do impersonations spot on. But I need a younger group of guys, not just funny, but I need them to be able to do stand-up. So his people went out and scouted stand-up comedians who were hot in New York City. This is a known fact. You can look this up. And the four that he got were Chris Farley, David Spade, Rob Schneider. Oh, I'm going to say this too, because he got the guy. I can't think of his name. I know him. Adam Sandler and Chris Rock. They all came from doing stand-up. But Adam Sandler was the one that could do the spot on impressions. He had the most versatile talent. But Chris Rock was the black guy who could do stand-up. But he had been in movies. He'd been in I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. He had been in Beverly Hills Cop, the first one, because I remember this. I'm from that era. But Chris Rock was only on there for 3 seasons. A lot of people don't know this. Chris Rock was a repertory player for like 1 season or 2, and then he became a regular cast member, and then he got fired. And he had to go do other jobs, and he used to guest host on Living Color. And his mother said, why aren't you on this show with the black people? Why are you on SNL? Because she was like, I don't even watch SNL. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be watching it. So she didn't even like SNL. Now, I like SNL. I love SNL because I love sketches. I love comedy, and I can do impersonations pretty good. But, a lot of people don't like it. It is what it is. Everybody has their own taste, so be it. But Chris Rock was smart. What he did was he said, I'm going to make it big with my strength. And his strength was stand-up. And he came out with an album around the time he joined SNL called Born Suspect. And that one, it did moderately well. Then, he was in New Jack City where he played Pookie, which I thought he did very well playing Pookie. And I'm going to talk about New Jack City in a movie a couple of months from now. Then he also was in a couple of other movies. But when he did the special Bigger and Blacker, that's when he hooked himself onto the urban market. And the whole East Coast, West Coast rap thing was big. And he capitalized off on that. And that's what made him big. And that's when he said, I could say the word nigga all the time. And I could go platinum with my comedy albums. I could be even nominated for a comedy album and be a bigger stand-up. I couldn't really be big on SNL, but I got the name attached to my career. So, on my resume. So, I can be big in this comedy circuit. And because of Bigger and Blacker, that's how he got the Chris Rock Show. And the Chris Rock Show was big for about 5 seasons. I used to love the Chris Rock Show. And that was big. And he was doing interviews, had like a lot of political people on there, but he also had sketches. And the Chris Rock Show was way funnier than SNL. It really was funny. And he used that strength, and then he made it into the movies, like starring in movies. Now, I will say this. Chris Rock never became big in the movies, but he did something that nobody else ever did. He predicted that a black man was going to be the president. Because if you watch the movie Head of State, that's all about preparing us for Barack Obama. A lot of people didn't understand that. But I knew what it was. I didn't know who the black man was going to be. But I knew it was all about preparing us for the next black president. So he did that. But he never was able to do what Eddie Murphy did. And Lorne Michaels has never had a black man to ever replicate that, because a lot of people don't notice Lorne Michaels did not bring Eddie Murphy on SNL. Okay? So the history of Chris Rock is Chris Rock was able to make it big by saying the N-word, by becoming a big and stand-up. So if it wasn't for Chris Rock to be provocative and using the N-word, nigga this, nigga that, nigga this, and nigga that, he would not have been big. So he had to make himself stand out, and that's what he did. And that's just about being famous in general. What are you going to do to separate yourself from the rest of the pack? But Chris Rock did not come from the urban comedy circuit where they was using the N-word freely. He comes from SNL, which is why I'm going to get to his associations with Louis C.K., Jerry Seinfeld, all these people, and Ricky Gervais. All these people have something in common. They worked for NBC. Okay? Jerry Seinfeld, Seinfeld Show, Ricky Gervais, he's from the original Office in UK, produced it on NBC, became a multi-millionaire. And Louis C.K. worked on NBC in some capacity. I used to know, I can't think of it at the moment. But he directed and wrote one of my favorite movies. And I can't watch it no more. But he wrote Pootie Tang. He wrote Pootie Tang. I used to love Pootie Tang when I was a kid. He wrote Pootie Tang. He wrote and directed Pootie Tang, Louis C.K. And it was a bomb. It was a bomb, but it became a cult classic because people bought the DVD. See, we were all ashamed to watch Pootie Tang because we used to watch it on the Chris Rock Show. But we didn't mind buying the DVD because who the hell is going to know that you watch Pootie Tang? Come on. It is what it is. But basically, Louis C.K. says whatever the hell he wants. He's nasty. He's even talked about pedophilia. Like, he's a skunk. It is what it is. But Chris Rock has always, since the arrival of Barack Obama, he's kind of like distanced himself from the urban black circuit of the rappers and the R&B singers when we were the ones that were supporting you. Yes, we know white people invested a lot of money in you, but those seats was filled up with black people, and you was insulting black people day and night, Chris, day and night. And I always wondered if that's the reason why your wife left you, because even though they say he cheated, they never really expound much on the mistresses. I just think she got tired of how you talked about black people. And you don't have sons. And that's something very odd. Eddie Murphy got a lot of children, sons included. But Eddie Murphy has never really just talked about black people in his sketches the way you did. See, you condemned black people. Eddie Murphy did. Eddie Murphy was just funny as fuck in his prime. Now, all these players involved, they ain't shit, including Jerry Seinfeld, because Jerry Seinfeld, you worked with Michael Richards, and you had to know he didn't like us as people. The way he used the N-word, you didn't condemn him. The way you was talking about how you spoke to Chris Rock and Louis C.K., you asked for him to be forgiven. And he didn't just say the N-word. He went on attack mode on those young black men. At least Louis C.K. wasn't attacking us. He was just saying N-words. He was just saying that he agreed with Chris Rock saying he was a niggerist white guy. And Chris Rock, I'm going to say this to you. The term nigger was basically conceived through the American Holocaust, which is known as the transatlantic slave trade. Let's keep it a buck. There's no such thing as the most niggerist white person. And to do that, you pissed on the ancestors. But then again, I'll never forget what you did at the Oscars back in 2016. When you made that joke about the black grandma hanging from the tree. And that's what hurt me. That shit hurt me. And I've never watched a special since. That hurt me. That really hurt me because I was like, I didn't think you could go that low. I really didn't. And I was just shocked. And you come from my city. You come from New York. And I get that you was the kid that was picked on in school, but you got money now. You don't have to be around these white men trying to fit in. You made your own mark in comedy. To me, you the second best comedian, in my opinion, after Eddie Murphy. And I said it, and I don't care who argues me down. Eddie Murphy is the greatest of all time. He's the greatest of all time, after Richard Pryor and Red Fox. I fucks with Eddie Murphy. Yes, I rocks with Eddie Murphy. I know he got the white girl, got the kids from everything. I understand that. But he's the greatest. Because he was able to do something that no other comedian do. Was to be able to be funny, doing stand-up, and to do spot-on impersonations. Richard Pryor couldn't do it, nor could Red Fox do it. He's the only one that could ever do that. Nobody can top him. He is the master at that. And Chris Rock couldn't do what Eddie Murphy did. But Chris Rock was like, I'm going to be a master stand-up. Which is why I always gave him number 2. It is what I've always gave him number 2 behind him. But I'm going to have to demote Chris Rock because of this bullshit. I'm going to have to. I know a lot of people going to come at me and be like, Miss Ann Local, no, you didn't. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And I just feel as though with a lot of this that's going on, this is a setup. They want to take Chris Rock down. They want Chris Rock to do something that he doesn't want to do. Because this is an old tape. Let's keep it funky. This is an old tape. Okay? Y'all know how Chris Rock feel. You know he don't give a fuck about the black community like that. And I got this confirmation from many people that I know who met him. And they sat me down and said, Joy, I know you're a fan of his, but he don't like black people. I know somebody who I was cool with back in the day. I don't really talk anymore. But she worked in a store and she serviced him. Now, he did speak to her, but he wasn't friendly. But when the white people came, he was very friendly. And my friend said, this is unusual because I've bumped into famous people a lot, but they'll be friendly, straightforward with anybody. But he was friendly with a specific group of people, and they were white people. But you would think him being funny and doing the urban stand-up specials on HBO and catering to a black audience, you would think that he was down. But he wasn't. But he just knew how to tap into that market, and he took it. And a lot of urban comics who were black hated him for that. He got a lot of heat for that shit. Because he took that shit and ran with it. But I think the moral of this whole thing is that I believe that we as black people now, we have to basically not just look at people for their talent, but also for their politics and how they view black people. You can be funny as shit, but if you don't like us, we're not going to break you as an act. We're going to be the final decision as to whether you become a successful household name or if your career is silenced. And I think that's something that we as black people got to do. We can't let black people who think like that move up in the ranks. We can't let that shit happen. We can't. So that's just my thought about it. We need to start actually evaluating people's credentials when it comes to black people. And on that note, this is your girl, Miss Ann Local, signing off. I know this is a long video, but this was something that I had to do. I had to talk about it. And I want everybody to comment, like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button, and just, listen to it and push your 2 cents in. I would love to read about it. And this is me again. I'm signing off. And by the way, Merry Christmas to people that celebrate it. And that's all. Later.